All right, so it is Fun Friday. Going to put out a couple of videos today. This one is Bionicle related. The next one probably won't be, but I wanted to focus a little bit more on this head. However, this is a fun video because I'm not going to super hyper fixate on like the materials and stuff like that. Rather, in today's video, I'm focused on just a few things. Legendary masks from 2001, from early Bionicle anyway. And so if you're aware, we got 3 different legendary masks in the early years of Bionicle, the golden years of Bionicle, whatever. And that is the Vahi, the Evoki, and the Krakan. And what I find really fascinating, at least as far as I know, no Matoran character ever wears the Vahi. At least no Matoran on the island of Matanui, right, with this head. And so I find that fascinating because the Vahi, in fact, is not compatible with this head. So visually, that's a pretty good indicator. Yeah, this is not meant for Matoran. Now, obviously, the cynic in me wants that to be compatible because, of course, I want all the masks to be compatible. That'd be fantastic. It's not what we get, unfortunately, but hey, close enough, right? But then I look and I think to myself, well, a Matoran did wear this briefly, so this mask should fit on here, right? No. Yes, but no. Briefly. Here's the thing. You can put this mask on here, but the mask will come off. If I hold it right here, it's going to start to slowly come off on its own. And the reason for this, I can watch it, it's funny. The reason for this is because these little ears of plastic right here actually rub up against these pieces, and because of their shape, they get pushed forward very gently, very slowly. So the mask is ejected off of this head automatically. I find that really fascinating because it does work, but it only just barely works and only just for a minute. In no way have I tried that where the mask did not come off. It doesn't like boot off with a lot of force or anything, so it's not gonna fly across the room. But that's just fun to me because we know that Takua wore that mask, but he wasn't a Matoran for very long after he put that mask on, right? He transformed. And so my thought is that, or at least the way I like to see it, because again, this is entirely unintentional, is that that's sort of a visual representation of that, right? I talked yesterday about how I thought these heads kind of tell a story, and in some ways I think they do it intentionally. In this way, I think it's completely unintentional, but it does align with the story because this mask can be worn by this head. And interestingly enough, we know that Makuta takes the form of a Matoran several times. Now, usually he's not portrayed wearing the Krakan in that form. He's usually portrayed wearing an infected Howl mask. But the fact that you can do this and it will connect and it's secure, that's pretty cool to me, right? So it's just a little extra bit of information that, like I said, is almost for sure, like 1,000% unintended, but it's still really fun. Yeah, I dropped that head and I needed to pick it up. Anyway, so speaking of this head, moving on to a different topic, 2 topics, actually. First off, these 2 masks are not the same. They look the same. They both have 4 holes, but they are different colors. Krax in 2008 does not, in fact, come with the exact same mask as Makuta from 2003. Rather, it comes with a solid black mask, whereas this mask is Rakshi black. On first glance, it's really hard to tell. In fact, you need like really good lighting to honestly tell, but the way that you can tell is just kind of hold it in the right lighting in the right angle. The thing is, both heads are made with a matte texture, and this does not do a very good job of showing that metallic shine that the Rakshi pieces have. So because of that, it's very hard to see on this mask, but it is there. And when you hold the 2 masks together, they are subtly different. The solid black mask is ever so slightly darker, and I just find that fun. So I wanted to go ahead and mention it in this video since I'm talking about their Krakan. I do wish that, of course, Krax did come with a different recolor of that mask. I know that, like, the Voltraz mask, I think, was originally designed for him before being put on Voltraz, yada yada. But I would have loved to have seen, like, a silver or a dark red version of this mask for Krax instead. Give him something, some reason to exist other than just being a character. But moving on to a topic completely unrelated to Bionicle, very briefly. This one right here. These masks came out with the Lego Technic hockey sets. There were 7 of them, or at least 7 masks, and they do connect via that stud connection that these heads accept. I like to see these in the Bionicle universe, in lore, as ceremonial masks. There are 7 of them. There are 6 villages, 7 elements if you include the element of light, of course. And on top of that, I like to see these as ceremonial in the sense that they're given to Matoran in recognition for that Matoran displaying the principle of that village. It could be any Matoran. It doesn't need to be a Lee Koro Matoran in Likoro to get the Likoro, Mask of Faith, right? Because the principle of Likoro, if you're familiar with the Motonui Online games, is faith. The principle of Takoro is courage. The principle of Onukoro is prosperity, yada yada. Anyway, I only know this because I looked it up yesterday. Trust me, I do not remember all of this information. But the point I'm trying to get at is that these masks can sort of be a visual representation of Matoran who have claimed those charms, right? Who have displayed those affinities for those principles. Anyway, on top of all of that, because there are 7 masks, that means that there's one mask that doesn't get a principle, doesn't get an element per se. And so I see this mask right here without the eyes as sort of the overarching mask. This mask is given to a Matoran only if they have collected A, all 6 of the principles, and B, gone above and beyond in their after the fact, right? And display aspects of the 3 virtues. This is the Mask of Virtues is what I call this. And the reason I picked this mask specifically is because it doesn't have eyes. It's kind of the most annoying to me because of that. But I want to see this going back from how this would be used on Motonui. How would they visualize this mask? Because I don't personally care for the design of it not having eyes, but that's the mask we got, right? And so if this was a mask that existed on Motonui, what would be the reason that they wouldn't give it eyes, right? That they would block off the eyes? Well, first off, these masks are more often than not worn during ceremonies, right? In fact, they're mostly reserved for ceremonies. Matoran don't just wear them on a daily basis, but when there are certain ceremonies being observed or celebrations, holidays, during like certain events or like sporting events, during a play, for example, some kind of artistic reason. That's really when these masks are utilized, right? To tell stories. And so my thought is that this mask sort of represents whatever the Bionicle equivalent to enlightenment is. I don't mean that the character is literally enlightened, their spirit is one with whatever, right? But it sort of represents that this character has sort of relinquished ties or isn't in need of visual cues, in need of their senses, because their trust is fully in the island that they live on itself, right? So the fact that this doesn't have eyes, the idea is that a Matoran wearing this mask essentially represents the Great Spirit in a lot of ways, and also represents just, again, a relation with like the world they live on that's beyond the physical, if that makes sense. So that's just kind of what I get at. I'm not a religious person. I don't know how accurate any of this stuff is, and it's all headcanon anyway. But the point I'm trying to make too is that, a character that could choreograph something in this without being able to see would be seen as something very, noble, because that's difficult. It shows a certain amount of restraint in some ways, and it shows, again, a relationship with the world around you that's entirely based on faith, on trust, on yada yada. Anyway, I keep saying that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say for this video, other than the fact that these masks unfortunately only come in light gray like this, which is a fine color. It's neutral, right? But it's kind of boring. So instead, what I chose to do is I chose to take the same colors as the Krana cowl, right? Paint the masks in those colors respective, right? So this mask, for example, is from Likoro. It would be the Mask of Faith, and I call it the Li-To. This name scheme is very simple. I literally just take the prefix for the village, right? So Li for Likoro, and then To because they're Tohunga or Matoran, right? I could also call it Li-Ma for Matoran, M-A, but it just didn't sound as nice. So I took Li and then To because it sounded nicer. Anyway, so that's pretty much it for this one, guys. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because it does help out the channel, and it helps out little things like this. Of course, if you want to join the conversation, you can do so down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on A, these hockey masks. First off, do you enjoy these pieces? Because I really do. B, about the legendary masks in general, and what other legendary masks I guess I should test with the old Matoran head here. And then, of course, you can take the conversation further over on Discord, or you can check out the Instagram or Patreon if you want to help support the channel and videos like this. And I'll see you all in the next one. Those are all in the description. Take care.